Hey again, everyone, and welcome back for another exciting, or at least I hope somewhat exciting, installment in our new figure showcase series. Now, usually that entails me taking a look at a more recent release, but for this episode, we're actually doing a bit of a back collecting. And if you followed the channel or seen me on stream with Fab's Figures, you know that I picked up this beauty at New York Comic Con. It was just a great deal I couldn't pass up. So, for today's installment, we'll be taking a look at the Hot Toys Igor Mark 38 from Iron Man 3, which is also known as the heavy lifting suit. And when you see the scale of this guy, it's not surprising. He was the biggest suit in that movie, having a very brief scene, of course, where he stabilizes the crane or a crane for a moment as it's collapsing. Or I think that's what it did. But like all of the House Party Protocol suits, it was a very brief cameo appearance. But I do think it was one of the more memorable ones. And in a sea of suits that sometimes got lost with similarity and blended together, this one just stands out. Even with the distinctive suit color with the nice blue, silver, and white. Now look, this is also going to be an interesting review in that it's all figure. There are no accessories with this guy, which isn't surprising, but we're going to be foregoing our normal section, so it should be relatively short. And also, while it's a big suit that does have some interesting details, it's nowhere near as intricate as, say, the Hulkbuster, which had a ton of details and functional parts. So again, a very interesting suit to look at. This was also, I want to say, a secondhand figure, so it was used, and as I was doing the review I discovered how dusty it was. So figure's actually in great condition, nothing broken, everything functions, joints are excellent, but if you do see dust, I was trying to clean as I went, so I just wanted to flag that in case you saw that's kind of why, and I was discovering it as I went. But look, the suit of armor impresses with sheer scale, and while you will see him in more standard poses straight up, the intent for this guy is really to be hunched over, but I figure I'd at least show you the range of motion and articulation, which is actually surprisingly decent for a figure of this scale. Now, let's look at the helmet a little bit more closely. It's well oversized, and it has a really nice Iron Man look to him, as he should. Very simple silver with the slots for the eyes, and then the blue at the top of the helmet, which you can see is heavily weathered, and that also hides the light up feature. That's actually something awesome with this guy. The weathering on the paint apps, as you'll see, is great and suitable for a suit that you would expect picks up heavy loading. And on the side, you do get the nice line along the mouth sort of section. I'll be honest, the helmet on this guy, or I guess the robotic head, is a little imposing. Although, if not done in the right pose, it does look a little bit wacky. But like I said, highly posable. The joints are actually ratcheted, so you can splay out the arms, and the lower portion of the arms do also have these hook-like projections that can fold out. Not sure what exactly those are for, but they do offer another interesting display option. The other thing I will say about this figure as I pose it up, it's top heavy, as you would expect, and I did find that you want to make sure the legs are locked into a good position before standing him up. Once the legs are locked, he's pretty stable, but if you sort of do an in-between pose with the leg, the joint on this one does tend to slip a bit, and I did find myself catching this guy a few times to avoid him tipping over. To me though, the key way of displaying him is in that hunched over look to match his namesake. And you do have these small silver platforms on the back that do pop out to create that load platform, and I think we see that in the movie. And in this pose, the head sort of juts out looking almost like a turtle, but it does create a really good looking stance that I think is the way this guy is really meant to be displayed. Along his back, he does have these articulated covers that flip down. I think again it allows him to brace up against heavy loads, and it's a great feature and a highlight of the details with the figure. Just that when I have him displayed, I doubt very much that anyone is going to be able to see these, which is a shame because Hot Toys did put some nice effort here. The arms are probably the other part of the figure that has really great detailing, from the fully articulated hands, which you can actually pose up to showcase the repulsors or create fists, and they do splay out nicely. And there is a lot of text detail on the surface too for the arms. For example, in the right arm you can see some US Army text. On the chest you also get some warnings. It's just great detail work, and I think overall the weathering on the figure is outstanding. The upper legs have some striped elements that are seriously worn and that look great, and the blue paint is far from pristine, definitely showing scuffs throughout. So look, I don't back collect too often, especially with the onslaught of figures we're getting these days. But this was a guy that I always wanted, but just worried about the space he takes up. And make no mistake, he does take up a ton of space, but I'm truly impressed by how good he looks. And honestly, as basic as he seemed to be at first, there is a ton of subtle detailing here that really does stand out. And while he's not a die-cast Iron Man suit, he still looks amazing. And I'm really happy to have finally had the opportunity to add him into the collection. So that was a quick look at the Mark 38 Igor suit from Iron Man 3. An oldie, but still a great figure. Now let me know your thoughts and we'll touch base on the next video.